when considering a future wife, how important is it to try and find someone with a similar hashkafa to my own? Or is it more important to be compatible with the person, even if on a different level of observance or religion, with the hope that we will end up thinking similarly in the future? That's a good question, and it's not a rare question. Things like this come up all the time. I'm going to give you a klal with regards to this. And this is my own personal belief and approach. But because you're asking me, I'm giving it to you. There is always a bridge, right? Let's just say it this way. There is always a gap that needs to be bridged between two people who get married. Okay. Every single human being is a profoundly complex organism. Complex psychologically, complex biologically, they're just complex. And because of that complexity, we ourselves find ourselves at odds with ourselves because there are parts to us that don't always integrate easily. When you choose to marry someone and live your life and try and integrate with someone, you are then doing that squared, right? So it's not just you have to deal with your own complexities and inconsistencies and whatever's. You have to then mesh this with another complex human being that deals with the same complexities and problems of integration in themselves. It is a profoundly fraught endeavor. I heard one person say, this is the reason why you have to be misameach hatan v'chala, because they're miserable. So you have to do your best to be able to make them happy, because this is a tremendously difficult endeavor. Yeah. Okay, maybe tongue in cheek, but nonetheless, it's not easy. That being the case, the gap between two people when they marry is best to be as short as possible. Yeah. So that the bridge doesn't have to traverse a large gap. The less you have to bridge, the better. The less you have to bridge, the better. So if there is a tremendous discrepancy in worldview and religious outlook, it is a tremendous burden on the marriage. And if you don't feel it at the beginnings of the marriage, it will manifest later in the marriage. And there will be greater weights upon it because children will only make that more heavy, not less heavy, because you won't have to be worrying about you, each other, and how you run in the world. You will then have to determine how you're going to raise your children in the world and which worldview and religious outlook is going to be the predominant one, or what kind of meshing are you going to do, and what kind of, and so on and so forth. It is extremely difficult. And the connecting of two people in marriage is fraught enough as it is out of the gate, even if there is very little to bridge. So to make that bridge larger is only inviting greater difficulty. So I advise against it. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it ever. I'm saying that it is not on a principle level, it's not a good idea. Do you believe there are telltale signs that you're with the right person? If so, what are they? Well, I mean, that's essentially the opposite of that. First of all, I mean, there should be some sense of attraction, right? And I don't just mean physical attraction. There's what we might call in our vernacular chemistry. There really should be some of that. Now, if there's a lot of that, that could be deceiving. Because if there's a great deal of chemistry, but not a great deal of mutual worldview, mutual philosophy, mutual aims in life, mutual destinies and goals of destination in life, that's problematic. And it's one of the reasons why, for much, much longer in human history than not, people did not marry for love. That's a very Western, very recent, modern, romantic development. They married on compatibility. More often than not, they didn't marry against their will, but they didn't marry out of love. They married for compatibility. It's one of the reasons why they would do what they call, their families would suggest who would be right for them. And that's not crazy at all. Not at all. Right? I'm not saying that it was a fail-safe and that nothing ever, nothing bad or problematic ever happened as a result of that, but there's a reason why it happened for a very, very, very long time. Right? So the signs of the right person are compatibility and mutual aims and goals. When I say compatibility, I don't mean homogeneity. I don't mean that they need to be the same as you, right? Very often, people who marry are quite different in their personalities, but they complement each other in their personalities. But more important than that is that they agree on the big things. They agree on the kind of household they want to create. They agree on the kind of children that they want to raise. They agree on the aims of their lives and what they consider their high values. That's important. And if those things are not there and you're not talking about those things and all you're feeling is head over heels in love with somebody, that's terribly deceptive. Because as exciting and wonderful and elating as it is to be in love with somebody, that fades after about 2 years or so. And when that fades, because it's a biological trick, right? But when that does fade, what's left is all the things that I'm talking about. And those things need to be dealt with. Okay.